In their book, The Changing World of Mormonism, the Tanners suggest that animal sacrifice is an Old Testament practice found in Latter-day Saint teaching. To those who know little about the Church, they might come away thinking the Church practices animal sacrifice. This is not the case. The teachings of the Church are clear. The Atonement of Christ did away with the sacrifice and burnt offerings under the law of Moses. The Church has not and does not practice animal sacrifice. The Tanners refer to statements from Joseph Smith and Joseph Fielding Smith about sacrifice. The first question one should ask is, if Joseph Smith and Joseph Fielding Smith were alive today, would they agree with the characterization of how the Tanners describe their statements? I do not think a reasonable person would say yes to that question. They offer an edited quote from the history of the Church to claim Joseph Smith taught the doctrine of animal sacrifices. The unedited version provides context. Joseph Smith says all the important ordinances and duties of the priesthood from all the dispensations since Adam will be brought back in the last dispensation as part of the restoration of all things. The sons of Levi will make an offering to the Lord. Sacrifice did not completely end with the atonement. It has always been associated with the priesthood and will be until Christ comes again. Sacrifices being referred to here are those that existed before the law of Moses. Sacrifice in association with the law of Moses ended with the atonement. Joseph talks a little about Elijah in this section. Joseph says here that not all the sacrifices were consumed under the law of Moses, but part was as given as a memorial and some given to the priests. Then Joseph says, quote, "These sacrifices, as well as every ordinance belonging to the priesthood, will, when the temple of the Lord shall be built, and the sons of Levi be purified, be fully restored and attended to in all their powers, ramifications, and blessings. This ever did and ever will exist when the powers of the Melchizedek priesthood are sufficiently manifest, else how can the restitution of all things spoken of by the holy prophets be brought to pass? It is not to be understood that the law of Moses will be established again with all its rites and variety of ceremonies. This has never been spoken of by the prophets, but those things which existed prior to Moses' day, namely, sacrifice, will be continued. So the things associated with the law of Moses will not be restored, but the things that existed prior to Moses will be. These points are not emphasized by the Tanners. These sacrifices are not being done to undo the atonement. Nor are they being done for the forgiveness of sin. The Tanners then cite an edited version of Joseph Fielding Smith about sacrifice. Once again they leave context out. The unedited version says the following. Now in the nature of things, the law of sacrifice will have to be restored, or all things which were decreed by the Lord would not be restored. It will be necessary, therefore, for the sons of Levi, who offered the blood sacrifices anciently in Israel, to offer such a sacrifice again to round out and complete this ordinance in this dispensation. Sacrifice by the shedding of blood was instituted in the days of Adam and of necessity will have to be restored. The sacrifice of animals will be done to complete the restoration when the temple spoken of is built, at the beginning of the millennium, or in the restoration. Blood sacrifices will be performed long enough to complete the fullness of the restoration in this dispensation. Afterwards sacrifice will be of some other character. The sacrifices are part of the restoration of all things. They are not serving the same function as those under the law of Moses. A point that one does not arrive at when one reads the Tanner's book. Thank you for your time.